Now that you have Grafana and Solar Controller installed, we can proceed to configuring Grafana. So first we need to enable the Grafana SQLite data source. So we go to plugins and type in SQLite and install this plugin. I already have it installed, so you guys go ahead and install it. We will need it to access the SQLite database produced by the Solar Controller client. So now that the plugin is installed, we can now proceed and create an SQLite data source. SQLite, right. And basically you need to write in the path of the database, which means it's solar logdb. Nice. All right. Right. So, well, I already have one. I just added a duplicate one, so I'm going to delete this duplicate one. It's not going to be used anyways. So this is basically the fully populated dashboard, and we will create a new one and populate it in the very same way. So first we need to learn the solar generating power. So what does this chart show? It shows the solar panel power. Right. So basically here we have a description of all columns stored in SQLite 3 database, solar panel power. So this one, charging power in watts. What? Alright, so I'm going to create a new dashboard. And it's going to be called solar panel power. And first we'll switch to the table view. We'll leave the time series on, but we'll switch to table view to first learn whether the data produced by the SQL query is actually correct. So we are going to select the date time and the solar panel power. Select date time, solar panel power. From log, so the table is called log, where date time, just like that. Okay, and now we have the datetime column. And we need to mark the datetime column as the datetime, so that Grafana knows which column is datetime in order to be able to render the values accordingly and assign the values accordingly to the date and time. Right, so now we have some kind of data available. It spans quite a lot in history. And now it's quite early in the morning, but we are starting to get some power from the solar panels. So actually now the chart should be able to show us something, and indeed it does. Now we need to change it a bit. So I prefer bars, kind of filled in bars for this kind of an information. And let's actually show something, some kind of earlier data. so that we have an actual representation of the chart so that we can modify it accordingly. So this looks actually quite good. I think we can leave everything be, and the unit is watt. So we choose watt, and now we see that basically the y-axis has been populated by the units automatically, so that's good. And I think we are ready. We don't need any threshold for this. I'll explain thresholds in a minute. Alright, so that's probably it for this chart. So that looks pretty lovely. So we expand it to cover it, the most important place in our dashboard. And we save the dashboard. Excellent. Now we can basically pick how long in a history we wanted to take a look. So we can only take a look 1 hour into history. But well, right now it doesn't tell us much because it's morning and the solar panels are just waking up. Right, and we want to enable a refresh so that the chart is automatically refreshed and the fresh data is pulled from the database. So now if we are patient enough, we should see the data being refreshed as the solar controller writes more data into the database. All right, that looks good. What else? So the controller. So we are basically showing the battery voltage and the controller temperature. Yeah, I mean, voltage and temperature completely different units, I know, but then again, the values are pretty close, so I think we can cram those values into one chart. So what we are going to do is we are going to do the same thing. So the new dashboard, and we're going to add a chart. So nope. This one. Solar controller. And let's switch to the table view and let's select appropriate data. So obviously date time, and now we need to search for controller temperature and the battery voltage. Gotcha. Where date time, and date time, basically this where clause makes sure we only select the data that we pick in this picker. So last 2 days or last 30 minutes or so on. And we need to configure the time formatted columns. So date time, and that's about it. Now it should actually show something. Oh, right. So if something is not working, then you have this small tiny error, and you can hover over it to see what's wrong. No such column date time. Right. Okay. Well, we forgot to type in the database table name. So from log. Now the data should be flowing. Right. Good. Data is missing a time field. But we configure. Oh, we forgot to press the add button. Okay, now it is. Now the datetime is correctly marked as a date column, and now the Grafana is happy. Basically, Grafana needs one column of type date or datetime, and then a bunch of value columns. Alright, so we have the chart that shows battery voltage. You can actually see from the history that at this point the battery was completely full, so the voltage went all up to the 28 volts, and that's where the solar controller basically switched from MPPT charging to some kind of a bulk charging or whatever. Which one was it? It should be either boost charging mode for 2 hours and then floating charging mode to basically just keep a tiny bit of of current flowing into the battery, but not much, just to maintain the battery at 28 volts. That actually happened for 2 hours straight, and then the floating charging mode was activated, and you can see the battery instantly dropped the voltage because there is not enough current to kind of support this voltage. All right, so I think we have all that we need in this chart. We will not configure the units, obviously, because well, one unit is a voltage, the other unit is a Celsius temperature. So I don't think we can pick one. So just we hit apply, and now we place the chart here and save the changes. All right. What now? Perfect. The current chart. So this chart basically shows the current floating from the solar panels and into the battery. So now the solar array is just still waking up. So we only have 70 milliamps coming from the solar panels, and we have 40 milliamps to going to the battery. Make note that this is not wattage, and these units are measured against different values. Coincidentally, the solar panels now have 26 volts, which is quite close to the battery voltage. So actually, the same current that flows from the solar panels will flow to the battery. But during a full day, the solar voltage can go up to 60 volts, while the battery stays around 25 volts. So then you will see much smaller values for the solar panel current. So for example, this value we only see 100 milliamps flowing from the solar panels, while we see 200 milliamps going to the battery, and that's because the solar panel voltage was at 56-ish at that time, while the battery was most probably at 28 or something like that. All right, sorry for digression. Let's go back to the current. So that's what we are going to replicate now. So dashboard and the chart and new panel. Right, so current, table view, and date time, and then we have solar panel current. So this is the current solar panel current to controller in amps. Good. And we have I wonder, but charging current to battery, in amps. Okay, that's the other one. Perfect. Log where date time. Actually, it could be easier to just rename the column as time. Yeah, okay, that works too. Nice. So we have some kind of a values. Let's switch to the table. You can see that there are some kind of values being shown in the chart. So charging current to battery 0.62, and let's switch to unit amp. Right, and now we should get also a nice units in there. So for 740 milliamps from solar panels, and I don't know, something like 200 to the battery. All right, apply and move it right here. And save. Right, so now you should have a gist of how to create charts. So let's create one last chart. So solar array, and this shows the voltage of the solar array. Right. So right now it's pretty small, and you can see that during the night it's actually like 2 volts or something like that. That's exactly where the solar controller will start reporting charging deactivated. There is no current voltage detected from solar panels. This happens when it's now night outside, and so on and so forth. And now it's morning, so the voltage starts to climb up. The amperage still is pretty low, but at least we got some voltage. And this is basically from the previous day, so we can see the voltage being all up to 60 volts. Right, so which column are we interested in now? It should be the solar panel voltage. Perfect. All right, so let's switch to our new dashboard and let's add a new panel. Solar panel voltage. And daytime is time. And solar panel voltage from log. And now we should be getting actually some data. Excellent. So we see the voltage being low during the night and up during the day. Sounds good. Let's add the volts unit. Volt, like that. Apply and position it correctly. Maybe shrink it a bit and enlarge it a bit. Right, and now we have a lovely history of our solar array. We can switch all the way to 7 days, and we should be able to see the full history of the solar array. Alright, but let's keep last 30 minutes. So we can see this peak. That's basically where the MPPT algorithm starts to probe the panels. Basically, the MPPT algorithm tries to look for a proper voltage at which the current flowing from the solar panel is the biggest. That's the basics of the MPPT algorithm. And in order for it to do that, it needs to kind of periodically try to change the voltage, bump it a bit, and see whether there would be more current flowing at that voltage. And if it would, then it will basically stay at that voltage. And if not, then it will just return to the previous voltage and just charge from there. So because of how MPPT works, you are going to see those spikes here and there. Now for a different set of charts. So oops, save, forgot to save. Alright, so now for something different. We also want to kind of see the most current immediate state. Alright, so we are going to measure the immediate value of the voltage of the solar array. And we are going to add a different type of chart. So this guy. So let's go back to our new dashboard and we add a new panel. So we will measure the solar panel voltage. So again, you know the drill. Date time is time from log, and that should actually show us something. But we want only the last value. So we need to order the data. Order by. Let's switch to actually table view because this is really handy when you want to see the actual data produced by the SQL, so that you know that you are getting the correct data. So order by date time descending. So we should now see the latest value, and that's true, 8, 13, 50, and the current value is 27 volts, and we only need 1, so limit 1. Now we should be getting just 1 value, and this select should be really fast for the database to execute and transfer to Grafana. So this is the best query for this kind of a chart. But we definitely don't want to show time series now, because we don't want to see the history. We want to see the actual value. So let's change to this type of a chart. Solar panel voltage. Now unit volt and decimals auto. Yeah, let's leave it like that. And we actually want to add a threshold and a min max. So we know that our solar array max is at 65 volts. So min will be 0 and max would be, let's put 70 there just to be extra sure. And we know that anything above, we shouldn't ever see anything about 65. So let's put like 65 here. And now we have a really nice chart showing the voltage, including the threshold and including the max value. So we hit apply and shrink it a bit like that and move it here just like that. So, and hit save. So now we have also a gauge that's showing us the most current value. And now we are going to do the same thing for amperage and watts. But it's kind of a hassle to always go through the same process and replicate all those values by hand. So there is something we can do. So it's much easier to actually duplicate this chart and just edit it a bit. So that's exactly what we are going to do. So we have the solar panel amperage, and we want to show amps. And we want to show solar panel current like that. And we need to edit the min and max. So we are going, so min is 0 and max. My solar panels are rated to 5 or 6 amp stops, so let's put in 7 here, and 6.5 should be some kind of a, we should never see more than 6 anyway, so let's put 6.5 as kind of a warning signal. And we can hit apply, and now we are seeing the amperage flowing from our solar panels. And we are going to display the wattage as well. Solar panel power watt, and the max wattage from my solar panel should be something 240. So let's put it like that, and let's use like something like this. There. So now we have nice gauge charts showing us immediate situation of our solar panels. And save. What else? Right. Maybe we want to see whether there are any faults reported by the solar panel controller. So for that we are going to monitor the fault text. Right, so how does it look like? I don't remember. So this is a bit of a different type of a chart. It's not really a chart, it's just basically a text log. So we are going to select the faults from log. Only the latest 4 records, but I'm interested in the chart type. Okay, logs. All right, nice. And we are showing time also. All right, so that's what we are going to replicate. So let's go to our new and discard new dashboard, and let's add a new panel. And the chart type is going to be logs, right? Something like status. We want to see the time as well, and there. So date, time, and faults from log, where yada yada yada, and we want to see the latest one. So order by date, time, this can descending, limit for table view. All right, no such column time. Oh yeah, there's time. Okay, and now we can see that the faults, everything seems to be fine. The problem with this field is that it's null, or well, zero or no value by default when there are no faults. But we want to see in OK text, kind of to feel reassured that everything is fine. So we use if null SQLite function, which will basically, if the fault is null, then it will replace that value with an arbitrary string, some kind of a string that we input here. So let's use OK, and now it should show OK. Right, and that should actually be more than enough. And apply, and let's make it smaller, and let's move it here. Perfect. And now we have the status of our solar controller. And save. And maybe we also want to see what our in what charging state our controller actually is. So you know, to see the charging state, whether you are deactivated or whether the solar controller is using a PPT to charge the batteries, or is in a boost or floating mode. So so we need to basically pull in the value of this charging state, but it's not a string, it's not this value, it's basically just a number. So we need, and obviously we don't want to print 0 and then guess what that means. So we need to write this kind of a horrible thing. Basically it's like, when charging state is 0, then print charging deactivated, when 1, then charging activated, and so on and so forth. And the values are basically taken from here. So 0, charging deactivated, 2, MPPT, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to copy this. You can write it as an exercise yourself. Yeah, something like that. I also keep some kind of an else clause, and I know never saw that value, but you know, just to be extra sure. So I'll just copy this SQL and let's go back to our new dashboard, and let's add new chart. So let's paste in the SQL. The chart type is going to be a log, and we want to see the table view, and date time is the date column. Order by date time descending, limit 1, excellent, and we want to see the time as well. So that's exactly what this log chart will output: the time and the charging mode. So we hit apply, resize, we resize this panel and place it appropriately. So now we know the most current charging mode in which our solar controller is right now. We forgot. What was it? Charging state. Charging state. Just like that. And hit save. Alright, well, this video is getting quite long, so I'll probably stop here. So basically, in the very same way, you can add three more gauges. What would measure the battery voltage, which would be the most current battery voltage, which is this column. Then you can also show how much energy you generated today. That should be the daily stats. This one, the stats. Oh no, daily power generation. Power generation of the current day in watt hours. So that's shown by this chart. And days up, how many days our solar controller was up and running, and that's days up.